立法會主席。
發言，石禮謙議員就政府帳目委員會第71A 號報告書向本會發言。石禮謙議員。
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Public Accounts Committee, I have the honor to table our report, number 71A. This is the committee's second report on the Director of Audit's report, number 71. It contains our conclusions and recommendations on the chapter of the Center for Food Safety, import control of foods. The first report, which focused on another related chapter, is on the management of food safety, was tabled in the Council in February this year. In 2017, over 90% of foods and live food animals for human consumption in Hong Kong were imported. According to the government's published trade statistics, the total value of imported goods in 2017 was more than 200 billion. In the past 5 years, expenditure on the Center for Food Safety, hereby I shall refer it as CFS, have increased by 32% from 448 million to 592 million, and more than 50% of which were spent on the import control of foods. Import control is of paramount importance to ensuring effective food safety control in Hong Kong. CFS set up food control officers across the territory to carry out established procedures for controlling the import of foods via air, road, and sea. Guidelines and operation manual have been prepared to assist CFS staff in carrying out their duties. The committee expresses great dismay and finds it unacceptable that the CFS staff had not followed the established procedures in the import control of foods, as evidenced by a number of incidents reviewed in the audit report. The committee also considered the CFS management and supervisory staff have failed to ensure their frontline staff compliance and the operation manual. In one serious case, which is still under investigation by CFS, Audit Commission revealed that in 5 inspections on food samples imported by air, the food samples were pre-selected for radiation tests by importers. This is contrary to the guideline that the sample should be randomly selected by the CFS staff. The committee also expresses grave dismay and finds it unacceptable that the CFS has not proactively reviewed its practices, system, and the operation manual to identify the deficiencies. Various problems and shortcomings could not be addressed timely and effectively. One example, as reviewed by the Audit Commission, was the evasion of inspection by vehicles at Man Kam Do Food Control Office. Audit Commission discovered that 9 vehicles had at least once evaded CFS inspection at the control office, and 2 vehicles have never been driven into the control office of the CFS inspection of the consignments. Of these vehicles, it was further discovered that 7 vehicles which had actually entered the control office were not shown in the CFS inspection records because their vehicle registration numbers have been wrongly entered in the CFS inspection records. The committee urges the CFS to set up a mechanism to review the workflow at various food control offices in order to identify whether they could achieve their intended purposes and are practical. The committee notes that CFS has created a time-limited post of Senior Principal Executive Officer in 2017 for a period of 7 years to head a dedicated team to take forward the recasting and re-engineering of workflow and an overall of information technology system to substantially strengthen its data management and analysis for food safety control. In this regard, the committee urges CFS to make good use of this new dedicated team to conduct a comprehensive review to rationalize and simplify the workflows associated with the import control of food. The work of the dedicated team should be expedited, and any recommendations made by the team should be implemented as soon as possible. Lastly, I wish to record my appreciation of the contribution made by members of the community. Our gratitude also goes to the witnesses who attended the hearing held by the committee. I would like to express our gratitude to the Director of Audit and his colleague for their unfailing support. Lastly, I'd like to thank the Secretariat for their hard work. Thank you, Mr. President.
政府法案首讀。
專營的士服務條例草案。